Hello everybody, Steve here. Today I'll be talking about RDC, or Remote Desktop Connections. And before we really get started, I'd like to stress that Remote Desktop Connection is an alternate to Virtual Private Network, or VPN, and it is not as secure as VPN. And so with that in mind, it's good for in-network or off-network uses, but again, not nearly as secure as VPN. So let's go ahead and define a few different terms here. RDC, or Remote Desktop Connection, is basically the software on the computer itself that allows the remote access. Now, this is sometimes confused with RDP, which is actually the protocol that allows the remote desktop software to function. Again, remote assistance, that is sometimes confused with the two as well. Remote access is basically scenario-wise, if you were to call a computer repair shop and they need to access your computer remotely, you would grant them access so they could go in and check your system out and see what was wrong with it and fix your system for you. Okay, now currently, Remote Desktop Connection only operates with certain Windows softwares, or operating systems, that is, and those are the professional levels of Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7, or Windows 8. And of course, Windows XP is their end of life is April 8th of 2014, so after that date there will be no support from Microsoft with that operating system at all. Now, there are several steps you have to perform in order to configure the remote desktop connection here. Basically, you have to allow or set up your client computer to allow this remote connection. You have to configure your router to allow the pass through the firewall to your remote client for connection. You also have to configure your public IP address, and then finally set up the remote desktop client and then test the client itself. But we're going to take this in the 6 steps, and as I said, I'm going to go ahead and describe each step and then show you on the computer itself how to perform those steps one at a time. Hopefully that'll kind of put the notes with a visual and make it a little bit easier to understand. So let's go ahead and start with step number 1. First thing you have to do is allow your client computer to accept the remote desktop connection here. And to do this, go ahead and click your Start button, and then right-click your computer icon and then choose Properties, and then from the Properties locate the remote settings, and you may be required to log in as admin depending on how your rights are or who you're logged in as. Under the remote desktop, go ahead and select the option that you do want, and then click Users, and then add the users you want to add or allow to have access to your computer. And after you perform that step, just simply finish this step by clicking OK. So let's go ahead and go to the screen, and I'll show you step by step on how this is done. Okay, in a Windows XP 7 environment, you go down to your Start button, locate computer and right click it, choose Properties, and then on the left hand side locate and click on Remote Settings. From here, go ahead and you choose your option. In this case, allow connections from computers running in any version of remote control. It's also notated as less secure. Once that's selected, go ahead and click select users. Go ahead and click Add, and then type in a name. I'm just going to type in my name here, and click Check Names. The system will find your name whether you use it or not. In this case here it is right here. Just go ahead and click OK. Now I'm going to say cancel since I've already got my name on here, and cancel this one out as well. But once you've added somebody into there, go ahead and click OK. I'm going to do cancel since I've already got my name here. And once you've done that, just go ahead and click OK to get out of everything. And that's how you do it in the Windows XP and 7 environment. And I'll show you now in a Windows 8 environment. The steps in a Windows 8 or Windows 2012 environment are a little bit different as far as getting to the screen that we need to get to. All other steps to complete the remote access granting, so to speak, are identical. Go to the right side of your screen and locate your search option. Click on the search option, and in the search box type in this PC. And as you can see, it already populated. Right click this PC and choose Properties. And once there, you're on a familiar screen. Just go ahead to the left and select Remote Settings, and you're back to the same screen you were in the previous example with Windows XP and Windows 7. So just complete the steps as you did before. Now, let's go ahead and work on configuring the firewall. Our next step is to configure the firewall. The procedure in both the Windows XP 7 environment and as well as the Windows 8 2012 environment are the same. The steps to get there are just a little bit different. Basically what we're looking for is in the search box, we're going to type in the word firewall and then locate and click on the Windows Firewall option. And then once there, we're going to go ahead and click on, it's either going to say remote desktop connection or allow remote access or some kind of verbiage like that. In some cases you'll have to click under Home or Work, click Private, or just look for the Remote Desktop option. Any of the case, we'll go ahead and I'll show you how to do this in both the Windows XP 7 and the Windows 8 2012 environments. Okay, from your desktop in a Windows 7 XP environment, click your Start button, go to your search box down here and just type in firewall. You don't even have to type the full word in, and locate the icon. It says Windows Firewall, and click that. Now what you'll be looking for here on the left hand side is allow a program or feature through a Windows Firewall. Go ahead and click that. Now in the box that shows up here, just scroll down until you locate Remote Desktop Connection, or Remote Desktop in this case, and here it is here and one below that. And as you can see, I've already got them checked. It's because I've already allowed Remote Desktop on this particular system here. But make sure those are checked, and once you've checked those, go ahead and click OK, and then go ahead and X out of that. And that basically will set your operating system up to accept the remote desktop. So let me go ahead and I'll show you this step again, but in a Windows 8 environment or Server 2012 environment. Configuring the firewall settings in a Windows 8 or Windows 2012 environments, it's basically the same, it's just the path is a little bit different. Locate your search, click that, and then go ahead in the search box, type in firewall. Locate and click on Windows Firewall. To the left you'll see an option that says allow an app or feature, and since Windows 2008 beyond, Microsoft likes using the word app, so go ahead and click that. Scroll down in your box until you find Remote Desktop right here. Click the checkbox, go ahead and click OK. Click the red X to get out of your box, and you're good to go. Now, one thing may come to mind is, what if you have more than one computer you'd like to access remotely over the internet? Well, considering that Windows TCP port, I say Windows TCP port, but Windows uses this particular TCP port, 3389, that's their default port for remote desktop connection. If you try to connect more than one computer with that port over the internet and try to get into them remotely, you're going to have some problems and some issues and definitely some conflicts. So what you'll need to do is configure the first computer with the default port of 3389, and then use any other port beyond that to configure how many other computers you want to remotely access. So you can use ports like 3390, 3391, etc. To do this, though, you'll have to go into the Windows Registry, and that can be a little dicey. And if you're not really used to doing Windows Registry additions or configurations, you may want to kind of back off a little bit, but I'll go ahead and I'll show you how this is done. Okay, before I go into anything about the Windows Registry, I do want to make this warning and disclaimer that you only should perform these steps if you're comfortable working with the Windows Registry, and that I am not holding any responsibility and not taking any responsibility for any damages if you go in there and hose your registry. So with that being said, let's go ahead and go through the procedure to edit the registry itself. First, you need to get into the registry, and once you're into the registry, you have to look for a particular key, which is going to be hkey_local_machines, and then there's a long string of path behind it. What you're looking for is basically the RDP, or the Remote Desktop Protocol TCP port number, which by default is 3389 in the Windows Registry. And what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to edit that 3389 by changing it to either 3390, 91, 92, etc., whatever you want to change it to. So let's go ahead and I'll show you the procedure to do this. And like I said before, if you're not comfortable working in the Windows Registry, I strongly recommend that you do not tamper with the registry itself, because you can foobar your whole system. Okay, we're going to go ahead and edit the registry here to change the default TCP port of 3389 to 33, in this case 3390. Now, if you're in the Windows XP or 7, just go down to your Start button and choose the search box and type in the same thing I'm going to be typing in here. I'm just going to be working in the Windows 8 2012 environment. So go ahead and click Search. In the search box, type in regedit. That's REGEDIT. Click on regedit, and you come to another screen, which is your Windows Registry screen. Now, locate hkey_local_machine, which is right here. From here, we will be going to System and then Current Control Set. So here's System. And then we expand down to Current Control Set. And then from Current Control Set, we're going to Control and Terminal Server. Here's Control. And we're going to have to scroll down for Terminal Server. And here's Terminal Server right here. Open that up. Now we're going to be looking for WinStations, which is going to be right down here, WinStations. Expand that. Now, where we're going for here is there's RDP-TCP. What we're going to do is highlight that. Then we're going to the right here, and what we're looking for is port number. So scroll down, it's alphabetical order, and look for port number. And here's port number right here. So go ahead and click on port number. Right click and choose Modify. Now here you will see another box that pops up. It says port number is a value name. Value edit, in this case it's showing in hexadecimal, is D3E. That's Delta 3 Echo. That's in hexadecimal for 3390. The reason I know that no hex for 1, and number 2, I've already changed this. And to confirm this, just click the decimal radio button, 3390 right there. But this is where you need to change it. So you can go ahead if you want to change it to 3390. If you feel comfortable working in decimal instead of hex, just click decimal, type in that value, click OK. In this case, I'm going to click cancel since I don't want to change anything anyway. But that's where you would change the port number. And once you have changed this, the change is permanent. So like I said, if you're going to mess with the registry, do it with extreme caution, because if you're not really familiar with what you're doing here, you can really foobar the whole system. And I don't want to be getting hate notes from people saying, hey, you know, I did this and now look what I had done. And, you know, I'm not being the scapegoat for anything that you might have done. So, okay, so let's go to our next step. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're on step number 3, finding the local IP address of your computer. It's not that hard to do. All we have to do is go into a DOS box, type in a command and make note of the address. So I'll show you how to do that now. Okay, go to your start, or in this case you can go to search if you're in Windows 8 or 2012. Type in CMD is the easiest way to do it. You'll see a command prompt box. Click on that and you'll have a command box that pops up on your screen. Now go ahead and type in the following letters. It's ipconfig for ipconfig. Hit your enter key. And here is where you find your local box's IP address right here. It's IPv4, IPv6. It's going to have both. Most of the modern computers will have both of them. We're looking now for this case for an IPv4, which is right here, the 192.168.10.1. Obviously, your IP address may be similar to mine. It may be different. It may be exactly the same. It all depends on whether you've got your computers with a static IP or you've got it for DHCP where your router's assigning it an address. But it's going to be very similar to this. So that's where you get your IP address for your box, and go ahead and jot that down along with, you might as well go ahead and put down your default gateway, the one down here, and also the subnet mask. So go ahead and just jot all of them down. Okay, we'll go to the next step now. Our next step is to configure the router. Unfortunately, there are so many brands out there and so many manufacturers, there's no way I could cover how to configure your router. So I strongly recommend that you contact the router manufacturer, their website, or their documentation on how to port forward the device so you can get your remote connection through the firewall. So let's go ahead and move on to the next step, which is the second to the last step. The next step is to find your public IP address, and this is actually one of the easiest steps that we can perform. All you have to do is open up a browser of your choice, either Chrome, Firefox, Explorer, Safari, whatever, and in the address bar just type in the words, "What is my IP?" And once you hit your enter key, your public IP address will populate on the front screen there, and you can just go ahead and make note of what your IP address is. Let's go ahead and move to the last step. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at our final step here. We're going to go ahead and test our remote connection. Now you can do this on network or off network, and what I mean by that is on network means that you could be on your local area connection, or off network being that you can be away from the house, across the world, or wherever you can get internet access here. So I'll walk you through the steps to do this, and in a perfect world, which obviously we don't live in, you should connect with no problem at all. And if you're like anybody else and you don't connect, go back and review the steps, because undoubtedly something is going to screw up and that'll probably keep you from connecting. But that's just a part of the game. So let's go ahead and I'll walk you through how to test your connection now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and test my remote connection. I'm going to connect my Windows 2008 R2 server to my Windows 2012 R2 server. They're both on the same network, but for the sake of argument, they can be in the same building, the same city, or they could be across the world. It doesn't really matter. So let's go ahead and try this out. We'll click Start. In the search box, type in remote desktop or remote, and you see remote desktop connection pops up here. Just click that. I do have an address in here of 192. It's my address for the server, and the corresponding alternate port number, which is at the end, is 3390. The standard port, like I said, was 3389, but I changed this one to 3390. So let's go ahead and click Connect. You get a password prompt, so go ahead and enter your password. Click OK. Now you'll come up with a screen, a warning screen here, but this is perfectly normal. It's because the certificates are not valid or validated or certified, whatever you want to call them. So go ahead and just say yes. Normally I'd be cautious, but since you know where you're going, you can go ahead and trust this connection. So go ahead and say yes. And there I am. I have connected to my Windows 2012 R2 server. So our desktop connection has succeeded, and I wish you the best of luck with yours. If you have any questions, just feel free to drop me a line. I'll try to get to you as soon as possible. That's at PacketByte, Steve@PacketByte.com. Thank you. Bye-bye.